But we need to bring in someone who's really interesting to talk to. Matt Bushman on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. A couple of tight ends, and I'm just here hanging out. Matt, what's up, man? How you feeling on draft week?
I'm feeling good, feeling confident, just excited to see what happens in a few days.
And look, Matt, I'm here, but I want this to be more about, you and Dennis in this thing. So, Dennis, what do you want to ask Matt? Because I know you guys have chatted, even worked out in Arizona.
Yeah, well, first off, Matt, great to see you. It was about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months, where we met up out here in Arizona and got to work out and chat a little bit. So let me preface that by saying, with our producer, I tried to get this segment, just you and I, called Tight Ends with Tight Ends. And I thought that was a pretty clever title. Jaron insisted that he was in this segment.
Jarom with an M, by the way.
What did I say? Jaron?
Jaron. I'm not Jaron.
Your name's
Hall.
not relevant. Well, your name's not as relevant as Matt Bushman right now. I get that, but we're still mortal enemies away from this. Listen, he insisted to be in this segment, so he's going to kind of third wheel it. It's uncomfortable, I get it, but let's just chat U&A right now. But last time I saw you, we tried to kind of do some drills and stuff. You weren't quite physically there yet. Where are you physically? And we saw you at Pro Day. You looked great. You caught the ball tremendously well. Where do you feel like you're at percentage-wise going into the draft this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm close to 100, if not 100% right now. I'm feeling super good. Yeah, in Arizona, I was a little overly confident when I met with you and couldn't do all my cutting quite yet. But hey, I was able to do what I could at Pro Day, and I felt good about it. So yeah, I'm feeling really good.
Dennis, are you okay if I ask a question now, or?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you're here. You might as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Aren't you the visitor?
You're
on this
welcome.
program? Matt, certainly if you had played last year, yeah, I think you're going to be a draft pick. Do you feel the same thing? And what's that battle been like to sort of reemerge on draft boards where it's like, I'm still here and I'm good to go and I'm going to be an asset for your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing was to show that I'm healthy and good to go at Pro Day. And I think after that, I was able to, coaches know film and they know what to see on tape. So they see that I can catch the ball and make plays. And I think just from the calls that I've had, they see me as an option. And I don't have a ton of expectations. I'm not like, I'm getting drafted here. I'm here for the ride. Whatever happens, happens. And I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Matt, here's being a player, I know this is difficult, but I want you to assess yourself. Look at your strengths and your weaknesses. What do you think you can add value to a team with as far as your strengths go right away? And what are some of those areas of your game you think you kind of need to work on or improve at to really become a high-level tight end at the next level?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of coaches ask that same thing in Zooms, and I just confidently say I feel like I have some of the best hands in this draft class. I mean, I catch the ball naturally. I can catch it in traffic, catch it when I'm open. That's what I do, and my bread and butter, I feel like. But I tell them the same thing. The stuff that I'm working on is just hip mobility, so that I can finish blocks better, so that I can have better leverage at the point of attack and create separation also in man-to-man situations. And I mean, coaches agree with that. So that's kind of been my answer during this process.
Dennis, do you want to give him any pointers on hip mobility?
Well played, Jarom. My hip mobility is quite good these days. So I have no real pointers.
Okay.
But those are good things to work on. Matt, you never really got to your weaknesses. I mean, I understand, you don't have many, but I think, part of being a good player at the next level is understanding what your weaknesses are. So break down some of your weaknesses, because this is always easy to do in front of a live audience. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of like I said, when coaches ask, you don't want to tell them straight up, hey, I'm not good at this. I suck at this. That's why I kind of say my hip mobility is something that I'm working on, because I do have stiff hips, and it affects, just loading power and my blocking ability. So that's what I'm working on as a weakness, is just blocking at the point of attack, keeping a base when I'm blocking, and also, like I said, just like creating separation in man-to-man situations. When people are pressed up on me, I think I can do a better job of being more patient and selling the release a little bit more. So that's what I've been working on during this time.
We're talking to Matt Bushman on BYU Sports Nation. I think I've discovered the answer to that question when someone asks you what your weakness is, like in a job interview in that situation. Something like, and you gave a great answer, but I care too much, almost to the detriment of my family. I might be here too often. Like that you know.
Yeah.
I think I'm joking around with that, but it is interesting to see that. Okay, so what kind of?
I think coaches kind of see that and they're like, "All right, buddy, we've heard that," or they know what our weaknesses are already before the call and before the question's asked. So if you give an honest answer, I think they respect that.
Yeah, totally. So what kind of interest are you getting? Because obviously you have great connections from being on draft boards, a couple of years ago. Obviously, father-in-law Chad is well connected. BYU has been very visible in this draft. We're going to have a bunch of guys drafted here. It's going to be awesome. So what kind of interest are you getting right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what exactly my status is in the draft and everything, but I've had a lot of calls with coaches, Zooms with tight ends coaches. I've talked with, I'd say, almost every team in the league, so I feel good about it. Whatever happens, I know teams are interested.
Dennis, Matt, have you talked to anybody from the Ravens?
I had a little conversation with the tight ends coach from the Ravens, and yeah, it'd be a cool. I think it'd be a cool fit. They like to use a tight end.
They do like to use a tight end. I'm always curious. I used to play for the Ravens. I don't know if you knew that, Matt. But listen, I would love, secretly, I would love if you got to play for the Ravens, because the tight end coach, there's Bobby Ingram. He was a coach there. He wasn't my tight ends coach, but he was the wide receivers coach when I was there. Awesome, awesome guy. You can't quite say that about every coach around the NFL, but I know Bobby Ingram, and he is awesome. You would be lucky to be able to play for him and that great organization. That being said, the draft is this weekend. What are your plans for this week? Where are you going to be watching it? What's going on? Are you nervous? Are you excited? What's your plan?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty low key for me. I mean, if I was a Zach Wilson prospect, I'd maybe throw a party or be at the draft. But I'm just gonna be at my condo with my wife and with my parents, and my in-laws might stop by for a little bit. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty low key, and I'm just gonna wait and see what happens.
I'd like to take a moment to give Dennis the floor. And Dennis, I want to get your evaluation of Matt, because you're a guy that obviously is in the pantheon of great tight ends here. It hurts me to say that, but and Matt, you are too. You're one of the best that have ever played here. So, Dennis, what did you see from Matt in his career that lends itself to success at the next level? Because this guy's certainly an NFL tight end.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that. I do think Matt is an NFL caliber tight end, and he hit it on the head. I think his greatest strengths are his ability to catch the football no matter the situation, to be able to high point the ball, to be able to catch in traffic. He's got unbelievable hands. And so whenever coaches ask that, that's the first thing you say. And I would 100% agree with that. And that's easy to see on film, because the myriad of catches you were able to make throughout your career, difficult catches outside of your frame. I mean, those are big time catches that translates to any level. And that will be your greatest weapon. And Matt and I, we sat and talked, for quite a while on the field a month or so ago. And we talked about kind of, how to make your mark on an NFL team, how to add value to the roster. And one of the things that we talked about was special teams. Do you remember that, Matt? And especially being a later drafted guy, potentially an undrafted guy coming into an NFL training camp, you have to make your mark on special teams. And that was never anything that I excelled at, but I had to. I was a 4th round pick. I was the 2nd tight end taken in that draft by the Ravens that year. And so I was buried on the depth chart. And the only way I was ever going to see the field was on special teams. And so for me, it was all about doing whatever you were asked to do. I was a right tackle on punt protection. I was the wing on field goal. I was, the left guard on punt return, all kinds of different stuff I never did at BYU, stuff I wasn't accustomed to doing, stuff that wasn't necessarily right in my wheelhouse and didn't fit a lot of my strengths as a player. But you got to do whatever you got to do. And I think, Matt, one of your greatest strengths is your understanding of and willingness to do whatever you got to do to see the field. And that's what it's going to take. And I think you can be a great player at the next level. I've seen a lot of tight ends come and go in the NFL, and I think you have everything that it takes to excel at the next level, but you got to be willing to do the dirty work, especially early on in your career, to get that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Jarom, I appreciate that coming from.
Is that what you wanted?
That was great. Matt, what did you think?
No, I appreciate that coming from someone that's made it and had such a great career at BYU and the NFL. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't play a crazy amount of special teams, but from who I've talked to, I understand that's a necessity. So I'm going to try to be best friends with that special teams coach, whoever it may be.
Matt, who's your favorite tight end in BYU history?
BYU history, Isaac Rex.
That's well played.
Hey, I have a funny story about Isaac Rex, actually. So this is when Matt and I were working out together down here. Matt, do you remember this? I showed you a text I got from Isaac Rex, and I haven't spoken personally with Isaac Rex prior to this text, and he sent it to me while I was working out with Matt, and so I was showing Matt, and we were getting a good laugh at it. So he started the text and said, "Hi, Dennis. This is Isaac Rex. I play tight end for BYU." And this is just a couple weeks or months removed from setting freshman records at BYU as a tight end, like having arguably one of the greatest seasons ever as a freshman at tight end, 12 touchdowns or whatever he had. Like, I had no idea who he was.
Isaac who?
Dennis, this is Isaac Rex. I play tight end at BYU. And I was dying laughing. Matt and I got a good chuckle out of it. And then we ended up FaceTiming Isaac Rex after that because he wanted to chat and pick my brain about a couple stuff or a couple things. And so Matt and I talked to him, and it was a good time. But I think Isaac Rex might be my favorite tight end at BYU. I was worried you were going to say Chad Lewis, and that would just be nepotism at its finest. I wouldn't. That'd be like you've already married his daughter. You don't need to suck up to him anymore.
That'd be like you saying your favorite quarterback at BYU was Max. Same idea.
Yeah, and I would never do that. I would never say that. Right?
Never ever. We're talking to Matt Bushman on BYU Sports Nation. Matt, when it comes to like the 6th or 7th round, certainly being drafted is something that I'm assuming you've dreamed of. But when it comes to like fit, obviously everyone talks about, well, fit is the best thing no matter when you're drafted. So is there any advantage to potentially being an undrafted free agent where you get more of a choice of where you go potentially?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's great to hear your name called on draft day, and that's something that everyone dreams of. But yeah, the more you learn about it, I mean, you want to go into a system that's not loaded with tight ends, or to a system where there's a great quarterback or where they utilize a tight end. So, I mean, if it's a late round draft pick, hopefully I go into a system like that. Or if I do fall to an undrafted free agent, hopefully I have some options where I can pick from, some great systems that I can hopefully have an impact, an immediate impact on, and, get some playing time from the jump.
Well, for guys like you, things work out because you got skills and you work hard. So best of luck this weekend. We're super excited about whatever happens, and we'll be actively watching. Good luck and enjoy it, Matt.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, that's Matt Bushman on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how. It also wraps up Tight Ends with Tight Ends. That was an amazing segment, Dennis. That was excellent.
That was a good segment. It would have been better had we been able to remove the awkward third wheel and just talk tight ends with tight ends.
Listen,
but I get it. You feel like this is your show for some reason. So
sometimes you get a flat tire, which some of the questions were a little flat, so you need the spare. But anyway, coming up.